What's up, everybody? Welcome back to another segment of HR Heretics. Kelly, today we're going to talk about Anthropic. So if you've been living under a rock and you don't know what Anthropic is, they are one of the foundational large language model creators. They have a product called Claude, which competes with ChatGPT's product. Why we're talking about them today is because all of these LLM companies want you to be using AI in everything that you do. But Gizmodo had a story this past week that said Anthropic wants you to use AI, just not to apply for its jobs. And so in the job descriptions, there's a line in there that says, while we encourage people to use AI systems during their role to help them work faster and more effectively, please do not use AI assistance during the application process. We want to understand your personal interest in Anthropic without mediation through an AI system. And we also want to evaluate your non-AI assisted communication skills. Please indicate yes if you have read and agree. So what's your take, Kelly, on using AI in the interview process and specifically with Anthropic's policy?
Yeah, well, let me ask you, what was the response to this? Did you happen to see any themes? Like, where was the wind blowing here on the...
Okay, so where the wind is blowing is it's a bit ironic that LLM company is saying, don't use AI in the job application process. And then there was a post I saw on LinkedIn this week. One of my buddies is creating an AI-based product manager interviewer prep thing. And a distinguished PM from Facebook came onto the thread and said, hey, this is like really cool. I can see the application of this. Can you also include that people should not be using AI during the fucking interview? Because we can tell it's obnoxious, it's wasting everyone's fucking time. And for those people that do sneak through, you are going to get exposed as somebody who shouldn't be here. So that's like the two pieces I've seen over the course of the last week.
Got it. I asked that because, I wouldn't consider myself like an expert on AI, right? I don't know if any of us really are, but we've done a few segments on AI and have talked pretty deeply about it. And for me, I was curious if there was a bunch of backlash or negative reaction, because this seems completely appropriate to me for where AI is. And maybe it's just my simple brain, but I have a very big belief, at least for the immediate or long tail future, maybe forever, we are the brains of AI. Like, we are architects of this thing. That's how we talked about the skills shifting. We will have less muscle in the organization. We will provide less hands. AI is the hands, if you will, but we have to architect and manage AI, so to speak. So like, of course, I'd want to understand how that human thinks and how they tick and how they would be the brains for what is the hands, if you will, of AI. That's my take. I'd love for you to disagree, but...
So there's another company called finalround.ai, and I've seen them a bunch recently.
They're like weeds. They just...
Well, this one's wild. Like, they just raised a $7 million seed. I know it intimately that they're growing very, very fast. And their first product is it helps you cheat on interviews. So the interviewer asks you a question. The AI is listening to the interview through Zoom. And then on Zoom, like on my screen, it spits out what I should answer. And they've had TikTok videos get to like 10 million plus. And it clearly seems like the college kid generation is leaning like heavily into this. So here's what I would say. I think we're moving towards an era to where AI is going to be part of everything that we do. Like, if we go through just kind of the full stack of I'm applying for a job, I have to have a resume, which is fucking stupid anyways, but whatever. I have to have a resume. I am not creating a resume from scratch. 0% chance. Like, AI is going to generate that thing and then I'll tinker with it. But if you're not using AI for that part of the process, then I think you're nuts. All right. Thing two, applying for jobs. So applying for jobs is stupid. Because, like, I was having a conversation with a friend about this today. It turns out there still isn't a whole lot of AI in the applicant tracking system. And so it's basically fucking chronological. So if you're a candidate, it's like, oh my, I'm just like, you expect me to go through every single one of these individually and submit my resume? Stupid. There are tools that are coming out My buddy Victor at Sora is building a tool like this to where it helps you apply for jobs in a mass way, like clicking one button and then manage everything. You should be using it that way. Okay, now we get into the interview process. So I think you should be using AI to help you prep. And then I agree with Anthropic by saying if we're live in an interview and you would be using AI to answer the question, you should say so. And so my framework for this would be like, we want you to be AI native. We want you to be using the software all the time. Candidly, I think everybody should be using it daily at this point. But in the interview process, we're going to ask you not to do it unless you specifically tell us and then tell us how you would use it, because we want to learn from you how you use AI. And actually, like, that might even be an interview module in and of itself, which is teach me something with AI. Like, how do you use it? Because if you really want to be an AI native and an AI first company, you need every employee to know how to do it, and you're not going to be wanting to teach them.
Hey everyone, we'll be right back in a moment after a word from our sponsors.
I must admit, I used to believe that AI didn't actually exist in recruiting or HR. That is until my friend Heather Doche, who leads talent at Signalfire, told me to check out Metaview. I got into the product and was like, wow, AI actually does exist in recruiting, and this product is sick. Metaview is the world's #1 AI scribe built specifically for recruiting. Their AI records and transcribes hiring conversations, like intakes, interviews, and debriefs, then provides perfectly summarized notes of everything that was discussed. I've seen firsthand how tough it can be to extract consistently high-quality data from candidate conversations. I've been in debriefs where interviewers told us about their feelings instead of what actually happened in the interview. And I've seen VPs and CEOs block hires because they didn't learn anything from skeleton scorecards. Metaview changes everything. With perfect notes from every conversation, your people can focus on creating a human connection with candidates, and they can save time on the busy work of cleaning up notes after every interview. But it's so much more than just a time saver, because perfect notes means perfect data. For every candidate and every pipeline, hiring teams can make confident, informed decisions, and talent leaders can finally take control of the interview process. Metaview covers all your compliance needs, works with all your existing tools, and takes less than 3 minutes to set up. Join talent leaders at organizations like Brex, Deal, HelloFresh, and Quora, and check out Metaview. Head over to metaview.ai/heretics to talk to one of Metaview's product experts. Tell them that me and Kelly sent you. Or you could just go to their website and get started for free. You'll be up, running, and AI enabled in minutes.
Yes. So all of that is great. Like, all of that is great, in my opinion. We should be using it for all of those things. And for those who are maybe using this, like you said, that new company, etc., it's easy to fake it once. It's hard to fake it day in and day out. So if I'm that person that's like even trying to use it to represent how I think and how I solve problems and etc. to get through these hoops, I don't think it's gonna hold water, Nolan, day in and day out in these companies. So I guess I'm saying, even if you can use AI to get a job into a company, I think it's going to backfire right in your face. It's like, oh, when you're on your own, you can't really kind of break down problems and think through this. So I just think it's a little bit dangerous until...
I don't know. I mean, if it works in the interview, like... I don't know.
The interview
hear
is like one data point, Nolan. Like, you're literally working with these people day in and day out. And if they don't know their shit, it's going to show up. They can't like AI themselves 9 hours a day with hundreds of data points and conversations and deliverable. It's just
But that just assumes that person is incompetent.
Okay. If someone literally like can't communicate with people and break down problems and do that on their own, they are incompetent, is what I'm saying. And this is exactly why Anthropic is being like, please don't use AI to make it look like you could do these things during your X hour interview process when we are going to get married to you, because it will show up, is guess what I'm saying, if I'm using your analogy.
Okay. So here's how I think about it. So what you just described is like a polarity, right? To where on one side of the pole, it's like you're not using it during the interview process. On the other side of the pole, you're using it like all the time to answer basic questions. And I think there's like some sort of like gradient there, right? To where it's like, of course, you got to be able to converse. And like, you know, I think you have to have energy and you have to have riz for sure.
The Riz again.
It's back, baby. Okay, you have to have riz. You know, like AI can't do those things. But if you're using AI in an interview process and it works, I hear your perspective of like, you can't be using it all day, every day to communicate with humans. But if your interview process is that fucking bad and you're hiring like those people, then like that's on the company. That's not on the candidate.
Yeah, I think actually we're surprisingly and ironically agreeing. And I think we're saying the same thing, is that it depends on what you're interviewing for. Like,
yeah,
I'm reading this as I'm interviewing for things that AI can't do. And I don't want AI to be doing, is what I'm reading.
Got it. So I do think cheating in interviewing is a problem. And I think that problem is going to explode exponentially as AI improves. We've talked about this once before, so I'm not going to hit on it a bunch, but it's clearly coming up more and more in anecdotes that I'm seeing online. And so, you know, it kind of reminds me of how some of my high school teachers solved this problem. So what they did was they just said, fuck it. We're going to do an open book test, but we're going to ask you a bunch of crazy shit that like, you're not going to be able to find it in the book, right? Like really, you're not going to be able to complete the test in enough time if for every question I'm asking you, like you have to open the book and read the whole fucking chapter. It's just not going to work for you. And so I think it's really easy to think about the solution from the company side being like, we need to develop some sort of anti-cheating thing. I'm actually saying like, why don't we just figure out the open book process of this for the interview? Because that way we're really going to know how this person operates and how they try and solve problems in real time when we do get married.
Yeah. So have them use AI all they want and structure this process so that them using that will basically not be able to mask what they are good at or not.
Yeah. And so I don't have a great answer for it today, but the thing that's like coming to mind for me is, say we're doing an in-person interview. I want you to bring your laptop now. I want you to bring your laptop. I want you to have ChatGPT open. And whenever you want to use it, you can. But I want you to tap in your shit. And then I want you to turn the screen to me so I can see what's like what you typed in and what you're thinking, and then walk me through that process, because I'm actually better understanding how you're using AI, which everybody needs. Like this for me would be a hack as an interviewer, is instead of me trying to like go toy around with it, which I have no fucking time. I got kids. I got all kinds of shit going on. Every time I interview somebody, bring in that laptop and you show me how you use AI. And then I get the answers to the test. That's the best of for everybody.
I think that's a good point. And I actually think it's reality. Like the takeaway for me on this is we don't know X, Y, Z, blah, blah, blah. But AI, how can you figure out how to live with it versus shut it out? And the same goes with schools. Do you see what I mean? Like I told my 14-year-old boys, I'm like, they better figure out how to infuse it versus, you know, try to create lines that won't exist anymore. Yep. And that's where the hard work's going to come in. The easy work is like, use it all or don't use it at all. The hard work is how do we actually create a new reality where this is where it's going?
And I think
it's a total mindfuck. I mean, it is. It's going to be hard.
Well, I think we've earned the right to solve this problem now, because it just keeps coming up. So I would actually want to know from our audience, like, what are you guys saying with candidates? Is this becoming a problem? Is this like a nothing burger right now? Are you seeing it a little bit more? And then how are you trying to solve the problem? Because I do think this is going to be one of those big ones that you need to figure out.
I would love to hear from folks or have folks on that are doing really interesting things or even failing at them in trying to work with AI in a process versus against it or shut it out. You know, in my coaching with folks right now or companies, I haven't seen a lot of it.
Yeah.
So I'd love to hear about that.
Cool. All right. Thanks, everybody.
Thanks all.
HR Heretics is a podcast from Turpentine, the network behind Econ 102, Moment of Zen, and Turpentine VC. Subscribe, 5 stars, share it on Apple, YouTube, Spotify, anywhere you get your podcasts, all the things.